welcome to part one of the summer pinwheel bag tutorial instructional videos. Part one is going to be all about pockets, and I'm going to show a couple of different options. I did not do the FPP for the video. If you're going to do the FPP pinwheel, you will treat that block the same as the fabric that I'm showing in the video, but I'm going for expedience in making this as quickly as possible so I can get this out to you guys. But I do show a couple of options, and then when I'm putting the bag together, which part two will be placing the straps for the bag and the pockets on the bag panels, I'm going to show you a couple of different ways to do that as well with these two pockets. I'll do an outside pocket and an inside pocket for this bag, where the instructions written are two outside pockets, but I want to show you a couple of different ways so you can customize or get some ideas on how to customize your bag and make it your own, because that's the fun part. But today I will show you how to make the pattern written pocket, which has this mesh down at the bottom to let out water and sand on the pocket, and then the two fabric pieces. From the pattern, you could have the pinwheel if you want to. If you don't want to do FPP, there's nothing keeping you to do FPP. You can just cut out two pieces of the same fabric, or have a different main and a different lining. But in the video, I show you how to enclose the mesh edges and turn it out or birth it, depending on how you want to call it, and so that you have your pocket ready to go. You don't have to worry about closing the edges, because we'll close them when we add the handle straps. But if you would prefer to close them just to have it done, you are certainly more than welcome to do that. You would just, sew, maybe a basting stitch down the side here until you get to the mesh. And then to give you another sample or idea of what to do for another pocket, I did just an all mesh one, where you just need one piece of mesh. I just did a 10 by 10 piece of mesh, and to make it a clean, so you're not stabbing yourself with the mesh every time you put your hand in the pocket, I did a binding strip right at the top, and that's shown in the video as well. So two different versions. I haven't yet decided which is going to be on the outside of the bag and which is going to be on the inside of the bag, but one pocket will be in one spot, one will be in the other. So those are the two different pockets that I'll show a little bit in the video. It'll be the video of making it and a voiceover of talking about how to set up and get everything together. And then after the video, I'll be back in just a little bit. All right.
All right, so we're going to start by lining up the mesh in between the pocket pieces, the two pocket pieces, where the fabrics are right sides together. And then you'll line up those edges. And I use magic clips here. You can use your pins. The mesh, will let you put the pins in between the sections. If you choose not to use the mesh, you'll just put your pocket pieces together, the two facing right sides together. And then where I sew the mesh in between those two pieces, you'll just sew the top and bottom of just your fabrics, turn them out the same way that we're going to do here with the pocket pieces. But don't feel like you have to use pins or the magic clips. I just find that they are helpful and that it helps keep the whole piece together for me. And it eliminates slipping or having the mesh make the fabric do something weird underneath my needle. So that's why I decided to go with the magic clips. And we'll get it all lined up. And then I am sewing with a 3.0 stitch length through the entire uh, the entirety of this video. So all of the top stitching, all of the getting the pieces together, I'm just at a 3.0 all the way across. It's no reason to do my regular. I always stitch at a 1.8, and there's no reason to go that small for this. And I actually think it would probably be more difficult with the mesh in between the two pieces of canvas. I'm using a striped outdoor canvas that I just picked up from Joann's. I know that there are a bunch of places online that you can pick up outdoor fabrics like this, like canvases and things. I have not used like kite fabric canvas, but I am intrigued to do so on something in the future. But I know that this outdoor fabric will be hardy and take the sun and the wind and rain and pull chlorine water and beachy salt water just fine. So I went for the body panel will be in this fabric, and then this pocket, which will either be the inside or the outside. I haven't decided yet. We're switching it up a little bit. I'm going to show you a couple of different options for where the pockets go in this instructional video. Also, if you don't want pockets, don't feel like you have to add pockets. This is, your pattern, and you can do with it what you will. I just want to give you some ideas and some options, and then I want you to let your imagination run wild and do what you think will look good for your bag. I'm doing this pocket a little bit differently than what's in the pattern. The pattern has you doing an FPP pinwheel because it went together with the quilt top that Stephanie Stitches had done in the retreat that we actually created these patterns for, and it made a really cute tie-in between the two pieces. But I don't want you to feel like you even have to do FPP. That's why I'm showing you just doing it with two pieces of your canvas. So here's what you're flipping out, you're birthing the fabric. And this allows you to enclose the mesh edges, which are kind of scratchy and hard, and I didn't want to like feel those when I was reaching into my pocket to get whatever's in there. So this method of sewing the top and the bottom right sides together, flipping it out, birthing it. If you are a seamstress, you probably know a lot about that. I know that they do that in like collars and blouses and everything to enclose your seams. And actually, I got this idea from watching the Great British Sewing Bee while they were making different clothes. I was like, oh, I could enclose all kinds of things in my quilting and bag making. So that's where this came from. And then now I'll just top stitch again at that 3.0 on both down at the mesh and back up at the top to complete the pocket. The mesh is there for the pocket so that sand and water can pass through. Mesh is also the bag bottom so that sand and water can pass through. I thought it would make sense to also have the pocket be able to have those things, go right through and not stick in the bag, the pocket bottom. Yeah, so I thought it would be a good addition, like a good utilitarian addition to the pockets, to have them also be pass through. Again, if you're not worried about that, you don't have to do the mesh bottom. You can just do all fabric, and it will be the same setup when we get to adding these pockets to the bag main body panels. So you won't have to change anything up whether you do the mesh bottom or not. It's going to be the exact same way. And actually the second style of pocket that I'm going to show you will be the exact same way. But I'll leave that till the next part when we're taking a look at the second style of pocket. But yeah, I'm finishing this. I am doing a back stitch kind of out of habit because we will be closing the pocket pieces off when we add the handles. But just out of habit, I'm back stitching at the start and end of top stitching. Now I'm gonna top stitch the very top of this pocket, and that's at a 3.0 stitch length. I'm just rolling the seams to get them together. You can iron. I don't use as hot of an iron on this outdoor canvas because whatever the coating is, it could just be in my head, but I just feel like it catches weird. Like I'm afraid I'm melting something. It just feels weird under my iron. So I do it at a little bit of a lower setting. If you wanted to do that first, you can definitely do that to make this bit a little bit easier, because I was definitely, as you can see, taking some time to get it to where I wanted it to be. I didn't mention when you're adding the mesh on in the or you're top stitching where the mesh is, if you give a healthy tug to the fabric, it will help flatten the seam there where the mesh meets the two pieces of pocket panels, and will give you a flatter top stitch along that line. So just think about that. I think in the video, I make it kind of obvious that that's what I'm doing. I'm pulling the fabric back away from the mesh to make sure it's as flat as possible when I stitch along that line. But here we go. Yeah, so if you wanted to iron, this would make this bit a lot faster. And you wouldn't have to be doing this finger pressing like I'm doing. But I didn't think about it until I was already committed. So you'll finish with the top stitch on the top of this pocket. And you can, if you want to, finish the pocket sides. You could close the pocket sides with a basting stitch if you wanted to. I don't, because when I'm adding these pockets to the main body panels and then adding the strapping, I'm actually sewing the pocket piece into the handle, and so I'm sewing it down, the pocket sides, sewing it down with the handle onto the body panel, which will make much more sense next week when we're doing the handles and adding the pockets to the body. But so I don't close those off here. You certainly can. You certainly feel free to, or if you want to baste the pocket body onto the main bag body before adding the handles, so you have the pocket placed exactly where you want to do it. That could make it easier when you're adding your handles. Things can shift a little bit, but again, we'll see that next week when we get to doing that, and I will show you what I mean by adding it to the bag body first. Just making sure that my fabric is aligning. I'm using striped fabric, which I have realized adds another layer of stress when I'm trying to do all of this, because I want to make sure all of the stripes line up correctly across the whole body of the pocket, and want to I was trying to make sure that the inside and the outside matched as closely as possible. So taking a little bit of time making sure that that happens. And then when you see the bag body, I'm making the stripes go, instead of around the bag, I'm making the stripes go vertical on the bag body. So this pocket will stand out a little bit because it's going horizontally, which I think is kind of cool. And there we go. All finished. Not sure what I was doing there with that long pause, but there's the first pocket done. Both panels of the pocket, front and back, and then the mesh added into the inside, and the raw edges enclosed, which is nice. So next we'll go on to part 2. So here we're going to add the all mesh pocket. So the all mesh pocket is just a variation, an option if you want to do this. I thought it would be fun to have an all mesh. And I, again, haven't decided if I want this one to be inside the bag or outside of the bag, but I knew for sure that I needed a binding to close off the top of the mesh. I'm sure you've seen that in different bags, like your Biani bags or other bags all over the place, whether it's this rougher vinyl mesh or even like the flimsier, like the floppy mesh. You generally close it off with some binding. Uh, if you are using the floppier mesh, you could use an elastic to do the binding, and you can make the pocket a little bit where it will expand as you bring things in. I have not done that, but that's absolutely an option. If you've done that kind of pocket, that would be really fun to add, especially to, well, in my head, I'm thinking the inside pocket, but if you wanted to do it on the outside pocket, it would definitely be good too. You just have to take into consideration that the pocket would shrink. It wouldn't be the 10 inches for aligning the handles. So you would want to make your pocket a little bit bigger to keep in mind that the elastic is going to draw it in. But now I am rolling over, I'm enclosing the ends of the binding, and I'm rolling the binding over to finish it off. And I'm just, again, using some magic clips to hold it down. And I'm gonna fudge my way through wrapping this binding and closing off the top of the mesh pocket. I think it's going to be fun having a mesh, all mesh pocket. I'm thinking maybe as the inside pocket to, well, no, as I'm saying that, I'm thinking maybe the outside pocket, because you could just throw anything that's super sandy in there and then it wouldn't even get inside your bag. Or super wet, you could throw it in there and it would, drain out from the outside of the bag and not get anything on the inside of the bag extra wet. I didn't waterproof any of the canvas for this bag, so if you did throw something super wet in this pocket, whatever it's pressing against on the bag main body panels could definitely get damp. It will get some moisture. But that's another option too. If you wanted to, I know there are iron-on waterproofing vinyls that you could do on your panels. There's also like a liquid that you can add to the fabric to make it waterproof. That's always an option. I haven't done that with my bags, but I think that would be a really fun option to really make this really waterproof. Or if you wanted to create just another matching bag with, maybe using leftover fabric for bindings and things like that. You could make a clear vinyl pocket to throw in to the inside of the bag, which I think would be so much fun. And now I'm thinking, oh, I need to do that. I need to go back and do that for all the bags that I've made. I'm making extra of these bags for my sisters and my mom, and probably for my stepmom too. So there will be several versions of this bag running around, which will give me plenty of opportunities to get creative with key fobs and, like I said, that extra vinyl bag, which I think will be a lot of fun. But I'm just setting up the magic clips here to make sure everything is enclosed. And then I will sew that together again at the 3.0 stitch length, or whichever stitch length you're comfortable with, because that's really all you need to do. And then you again you don't have to worry about closing up the sides of this pocket, because obviously it's just one piece of mesh. But when we get to the panels next week, when we're going to add the handles to the main body panels, you could baste this pocket on the panel as well, and then put the handles on, so that this isn't moving around and you don't have to worry about pinning it down and then pinning the handles to make sure that it's keeping everything in place. It's just another safety measure if you wanted to baste this to the panel, which we'll do next week. This bag project really works up pretty quickly once you get all your pieces cut. And I know that cutting the mesh, this vinyl or PVC mesh, can be challenging just because it's so much thicker. Though my rotary cutter really had no issues going through this, so hopefully you find the same. But it's a pretty quick sew. We've got the pocket panels all done now. The body main is just a couple of pieces of fabric. I think you'll find a fun quick sew. And now the second pocket is done. Oh, I remember this. I found a spot where it wasn't sewn all the way down, so I go back and make sure that I've got it captured so that it doesn't start fraying and looking weird after some good use. But yeah, it's not a hard sew. It's not a long sew. It's just the FPP can add some spice to this bag, and the enclosing the raw edges might not be something that you're used to. Doing it this way, this birthing method of turning everything out, might not be something that you're used to. But I think the overall bag pattern is pretty easy to get a hang of once you start doing it, and just start off nice and slow. We will be boxing bag corners, which is a fun thing to have in your toolkit. Well, there we go. Mesh pocket all done, and our fabric pocket all done as well. And we are ready to get these added to the bag body. Thanks, everybody.
All right, so there you go. That's how to do these two styles of pockets. If you have another pocket that you've made for another bag and you really like that pocket style, feel free to do that. I just really like how sandwiching the mesh in between the two pieces of fabric and then turning it out like that. I like how it encloses all the raw edges and will, keep from having to do a binding strip or keep from like jamming into that mesh as I'm putting my hand into the pocket. So that's why I like that style. Next up will be, again, attaching the pockets to the bag main panels. And then after, after that, part 3 will be attaching the main panels to the larger mesh piece, which in the pattern, that larger mesh piece is actually the bag bottom. And so we'll show attaching the main bag panels to that. And it gets a little tricky because you're going to first do it exactly the same way you do the pocket, where you sandwich it in between. But then when you move to the second side, you're going to have extra fabric because you're going to have that first main panel on there. So I'll show you how you kind of like roll it up and get the second side added. And then we will do boxing the bag bottom corners so that we can, and that'll be part 4 because it'd be way too long a video. And then we'll box those corners. We'll add the binding strips to the bag sides and then the binding strips to those boxed corners. And then the bag will be all complete and we will be all set for summer. So I look forward to the next few videos and working with you all to build your own summer pinwheel bag or whatever variation of that you make, whether you have the pinwheel on it or a plain pocket panel, whatever works for you. I will also add some things like a key fob, just to show you how I would do that with the enclosed edges, how I would add that at the end. So looking forward to doing all that in the next couple of weeks. Thanks everybody. See you soon.